Understanding is the culmination of your knowledge and wisdom, and if live correctly, the best part will rise to the top, because that's the cream. Peace.
Peace.
So this presentation is based on the idea of growth and development for the gods and earths in terms of creating an infrastructure for us to build upon so that we can move initiatives forward in all parts of the United States, now all over the planet Earth. And we started with an idea at the show Improve in 2001 when the janitor did not show up to open up Harriet Tubman, and the God-born King Allah was like, yo, everybody's standing around here trying to get him. What's happening where you at? What's happening where you at? And we started giving reports about what was going on in our areas. And we took that idea and we said, let's do that every year at the show Improve. That was the original idea of the growth and development process. We didn't have a name for it at the time. And so we took the idea back to Power Born, and with my black seeds and with my earth, we massaged that idea until it came into a process that included the entire seaboard of the eastern coast, down to the southeast portions, out to the Midwest and out to the West, regions 1 through 9. And we separated the regions based on the whole idea of proximity to each other. So the states like North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, and Virginia who would all have, and Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, that would all have that distance proximity within each other, so you could create systems in those areas and share that success with your local areas within that area. So this was a bottom-up process from the idea of inception, which meant it was not a top-down process. This wasn't like the nation telling you how to get down. This was like you telling the nation how to get down. And so this is a bottom-up process. So the bottom process is the individuals in the local areas, and then it becomes a local area when we come together. We've had a lot of successes within Region 4, which is why Region 4 has, to this day, the most qualitative and quantitative conference on a consistent basis that we've seen, keeping the alarm, keeping the drums beating, and keeping the information flowing and disseminating throughout our areas into the entire nation. So people in this room are not all just from Region 4, we from all over. So that shows, like one of the original, God, y'all supported the concept, and y'all brought life into the concept. That's the knowledge going into the wisdom phase. Because wisdom ain't wise if it's wrong. Wisdom is only wisdom when you show and prove your knowledge, and the understanding is born that the knowledge and the understanding are congruent, or that they are parallel. You can't tell me what you're doing or what you're about, and I'm watching what you're doing, and it don't add up.
We're going to continue. Queen Shamika.
Peace.
Doctor.
Oh, my goodness. So we're going to do a high-level overview for you. We're going to tell you what we're talking about, and then we'll go back and tell you what we talked about, and then talk about it again. So we're going to give you the scope and what and how and why and growth and development came about. Zaire gave you a little bit of a history about that. We also brought up the God Knowledge Build-A-Law, who was a great a great person in the basement of our home when we started breaking up the regions and doing things to come up with growth and development. The one thing that I want to say before we go on with the scope of the presentation is that we're going to also talk about those goals and those original things that were there when we discussed it. And to let the sisters know in here, there were many earths involved in the growth and development process. It was just not the gods. It was the gods and the earths in that basement, putting it all together. We had sisters who came in and helped us to determine regional structure. Just to let you know.
Peace. So just want to give some historical context before we go on, and it's, to show forth and prove that everything comes from something. Now, just scientifically show forth and prove there's no mystery God. So there's no process that comes from thin air, right? This process manifested because of a variety of things. So people who have historical context know about God's universal light, right? They know about the process of bringing and identifying talents and skills and bringing folks together, saying who were best knowers and how we could build. In the Son of Man, Universal Shamgar talked about having a regional and local process leading to a national conference in the Son of Man, right? So a lot of times people might say, where did this come from? This always existed in the mind of Allah. If you want to see us, all you have to do is come together. If you want to see Him, you have to do to come together. And if you want to see us, we have to come together. So it's not just the what, but it's the how we come together, right? That brings forth the understanding that we're talking about today. And we're going to go through a lot, but I want to bring this out and make this born. Here's what happened, but now it's up to us to decide what we're going to do collectively together. This is not a process that anyone in particular owns, no cipher, no person, or nothing like that. This is what we all own. Right? So what do we have to do? What is our aspirational goal for making a law world manifest? Right? You got to know what success looks like. Right? So 23 years ago, right, going from when the janitor didn't come, there was an idea saying we're going to come together. What we did was take all that energy from all the things that have happened in this nation and say, here's a process that we submit to the nation. Right? The nation takes it and decides what we want to do with it. But the goal of it is to be to bring a law will manifest in the ways that we see fit. So the original goals were to further develop and expand the proposed regional initiative, again, building on what happened at the Show and Prove. To host educational workshops on topics relevant to the development of the respective regions. And here's why this is important. Earlier today, Shop Peace was building on the vision for the school, right? Now that vision is not necessarily totally figured out, right, in square inches yet. But it is an aspirational idea that people can add on. It's an educational process. When God was building on the economics, those are the workshops that we should be educating ourselves. Because the skill sets and talents we have in this room alone, they match anything happening outside. But we have to be willing to teach each other. So just like we teach each other 120 degrees, we have to be willing to teach each other what we know. Right? So that was one of the goals of what we were doing. And then third, and this was kind of like the big one, to facilitate the building of social, economic, and educational institutions. And I would say this remains the goal. What does that look like to build the institutions to be able to hand down to our children and future generations, right? So they don't have to take things, so they don't have to start at the base. We give them and allow them to go forth, right? So, just want to give some context for what that was. The objective to form the regional structure, we gave a suggestion, but we did not say what you had to do, right? Because you can't tell 5% what to do anyway, so it won't matter. So, we didn't tell you what to do. We just said, here's what we suggest. To form alliances within the cities, within regions. We base it on what was already happening. What was already happening in the proximity, who was already supporting each other's family days, who was already coming to each other's parliaments. So the idea was not to create something that wasn't already happening, to form inter-regional alliances, right? Because just like we're here, just like people from other quote-unquote regions are here, is to make sure we're supporting each other, because when we show up for each other, the world sees that we show up for each other. We have to understand the importance of that. People see when we show up for each other. And then conversely, people see when we don't show up for each other, right? So we have to make sure that we do that. And then, again, kind of building off of the idea of God's universal light, for skills at that point, but it was to create a national business directory where people can know if we want to come to each other. And we often talk about how much the dollar circulates to other communities. Well, the key is we got to know what each other does. If we don't know what each other, if we don't know the products, and we don't know the services that each other creates and facilitates, then we can't actually support each other financially to be able to keep the money in the nation. So.
Peace. All right, knowledge, but I also wanted to add on something, like the guys were talking about how this was created. So, although, you know, the guys talked about come from God Universal Light, when, you know, Oscar didn't show up to open up the school, you know, we was in the basement building. However, that might have been the foundation, but in order for it to get to all of everyone else, it took a lot of legwork. So I want to just highlight that because just because we had the idea, it didn't happen through osmosis that everyone was going to receive it. So we did a lot of traveling. So we traveled to various ciphers, we called a lot of people. Zaire spent countless nights on the phone, Queen Shamika, countless nights on the phone, Majestic, our team, you know what I'm saying? Talking to people, explaining it to them, getting feedback, sharing the idea, so that once it was revealed in 2001, the people showed up because they were interested to identify how we move forward, right? And so these are the 5 original initiatives, right, that we identified collectively that was important. Security, health, which came in 2002. When we did the first conference, the ones that health was not there, but we seen it as an important thing to add. Communication, economics, public relations, and education. So those were the things that we saw as important, right? And the regions broke down, right? So these are all the 9 regions, the original 9 regions, and you'll see the rest of the regions. And like the guys said, they were broken down based on proximity. One important part of proximity, a proximity-based approach, is that in your region, you're more alike than not, right? So there's things that will work in region 4 that could be easily traded and transferred, but might be different than what's going on in region 6 and that part of the Appalachia, right? So that's one of the reasons why we came up with these things. And also we chose region 6 because we knew that people might not want to be region 6, right? So, because they're minimum 6, right? So you can continue on. And then in 2021, there was an expansion where the guys in the Earth was doing a lot of teaching down in South America and Central America. So we did it through Zoom, right? And so Zaire was helping facilitate that. Shaquem was doing a lot of teaching, and so now as a result of a lot of this, we have Region 10 and Region 11, right? And so it's not just here in continental United States. This knowledge is for everyone, and these structures will work universally, right?
Just to add on real quick.
You don't need it. I guess.
Get the mic. I think this is important to talk about this, that we went from this to now, as knowledge is spreading all across the world, that we have a mechanism to be able to get in tune with our brothers and sisters all across the world. We have a mechanism to be able to help and assist. Because remember, some of these guys are teaching in places that have way different political and social landscapes than the ones we face here. They're in landscapes where you could be murdered for saying things against the government, right? They're facing landscapes where there are language differences, profound language differences. So this really allows us to do this, and in the future, there are guys nurses in Africa, there are guys nurses in Europe, but we just want to start where it was at. But just again, to be able to make these connections. So if you think about it in a very practical way, let's say you take a trip to one of these places, now you can connect with the guys nurse there. Now you can bring books, you can take things back. Again, it gets a very practical context of how do we build together, right? How do we build and add on together to create the further development and to be able to speak the one universal language of mathematics.
And can I just add on with the Earth's ledger? If you look at Region 11 with Columbia, some of you know Equality Perfection is from Columbia. And the Earth has been traveling back and forth building in Columbia with the Earths there that speak a different language than, English. And this way, their questions about the Earths is about, for instance, what happened in the beginning with the Earths? Who were the first Earths in the nation? Did the Earths wear 3/4? And what was, what's that all about? These are questions that we find all over the continent. Different sisters call from London and Japan and various different places. And they ask these kind of questions. So it's good to prepare yourself mathematically as a woman in this nation to be able to expand with the women globally.
Hey, quick question before you advance the slides.
Yes, sir.
If you go back, why is it that Brazil doesn't have a regional sign? And especially where the majority of the people that came from.
Wait a minute, Doc. Wait a minute.
All right, you wanna go back?
Yeah, go back one. To the map. The region map.
Did I pass it?
Go back.
Go back.
The other direction.
There you
go.
Okay.
Pete, just to answer that quickly, and see if you want to. I'll add on, just because it was based off of where people knew that there actually were God's Nerds currently building, and not just throw them into a region per se until we saw where they were connected. Because what you'll find is that the God Nerds in Mexico have relationships with the God Nerds in Venezuela because of some of the travel back and forth between Central and South America. So we tried to do it also based on who was already connected, because again, there are some very particular specifics of how those places function, which are different than ours. Like if you think about our trees, well, if whoever they got it from is who they rocking with. They're not going outside of that, right? So the regional process to be able to help facilitate that. But if someone from Mexico took it to Venezuela and that cipher, then that's who, or Colombia, then that's who they're engaging with. So Brazil didn't have one yet, so we didn't want to make sure we didn't, because there's a couple countries that didn't define one yet. We wanted to wait until that knowledge came out there and was born about who was building out there before we made a decision.
Peace.
And then one of the sisters did tell me that I learned that Nicaragua, which my school travels to, and Honduras, there were battles going on in that area. And with the gods and the earths in that area, there were even more battles because they're teaching that the black man is God. So, you know, even though you see Honduras and Nicaragua up there, the gods and earths are traveling in those areas are politically in war with different, what do you call those people? Dictatorships and stuff like that. So, and Zaire did most of the building with the gods in these areas. And so they would call Zaire to build with Zaire on how to, you know, structure themselves in those areas. He can build on that.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, peace. All right, so we're gonna continue with the timeline. So like we said, 2001 is when we had the first growth and development meeting at the Show and Prove, right? And then we also had the first National Growth and Development Summit in Powerborn. In 2002, people want to say 2002, we had a Region 6 conference, Region 7 conference, and
Just second.
and the second one. All right, so I mean, you can just go through it. Basically, I mean, because I'll be reading all day because there's been like 50 conferences over the last 23 years, right? But this just shows how it continued to grow. And I do want to highlight that the health intake clinic that took place at the Show and Prove, right? Because the Earths did a phenomenal job, and there may be some guys involved as well. But it was to the point that they were saving people's lives at the Show and Prove because they did a health clinic, right? You know what I mean? And so it's like the importance of identifying health as one of those fundamental foundational things is important, because a lot of times we're not taking care of ourselves. Whereas now we have a structure to be able to like identify, are you okay? You know, so I thought I wanted to just highlight that because it was a real important element that took place in 2005. And you see Region 7, they had a couple of conferences, and you know, y'all had conferences every year, right? So you're gonna keep pushing those slides on and on and on.
One thing I want to add on right here is the Elder Queens Conference. That was for Sisters in the Nation. Earthly Paradise back there was for sisters who were there, it had been in the nation greater than 25 years. And so we had sisters who were there from the 60s and the 70s at that conference. The Health Intake Clinic, and then the National Earth Conference, which was highlighted by the sisters. The young sisters came to the Elder Earth Conference and recorded it and helped out and wrote things out so that they could take it to the next conference for the 10 to 24. And anybody who was under 10, we had people there that could record it, do the notes for it, so that they could go back for the sisters who were there less than 10 years. And I have those, if you ever want them, I have all those recordings, but that's to let you know.
One thing you'll see here is that there's a place where you don't start to see a whole bunch of just national conferences. And that was very purposeful. Because again, going back to what I was saying, at some point we have to take it on as our own, and people have to take it on. And an example of the guys and nerds here in Region 4, taking it on as their own to the point where we can socialize it amongst ourselves, where everyone knows this is something that is important to the growth of our nation, and not something that's other than, or not something that, you know, has its origins from outside of us. So we're being very intentional about how can you allow this to make sure that it's from the ground up and people are taking it on themselves so that we all are representatives of the concept versus just a national conference which people could be attracted to and want to come to, but not necessarily do the work at home.
I'm just going through the timeline so you can see these things have been going on since 2001. So, today, there's coming here at 2024, you know, as you can see, and I always highlight the IRFs, you know I have to. But the IRFs have had conferences as well in Philadelphia, various different places. Sisters come together, and it's very important. The International Growth and Development Conference was virtual at the show approved. I believe that is when you brought Kali into it, maybe?
Yes, King Living Islam out in Colombia.
In Colombia.
I was on that call.
You was on that as well, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And so as we move forward, right now, we're here in Richmond, which is great. This is just a graph of things that have occurred with the growth and development. Of course, we need some adjustments to this, and some young person can take that on. I'm just saying. And we did some data collection from our 2001, 2002. We did all kind of data collection so we could find out from the nation what was important to people, you know, what they wanted to know. So we did the research, which that's my background, and that's, I think, all of our background is in, you know, find out, get the data analytics in there and do some research on that.
Real quickly, so some of the initiatives that we can point to, besides some of the initiatives that you spoke about today in Region 4, are up front here. And the idea that we move with a particular intention of including generational involvement. So there's not going to be a lot of what I have to say without what she has to say or what he has to say, because they may have come years behind me, but we've been rolling together for 25 years. So this is my crew. That's right. Right? So I don't do nothing what I say. Right? So that's just showing how the bond is going to help increase that intergenerational cooperation and understanding amongst each other. Knowledge Divine, Black Man Green Plan, he's dealing with solar panels and recycling. He's out in Portland, Oregon, doing this thing out there with that. And here's a high-level overview of some of the events that's happened throughout all the regions.
So, like we talked about, this was just to give a context. The challenge that we have is to say, what's next, right? What's going forward? What is our aspirational goal? What does success look like? And then once we say that, generally we know, we would say law will manifest. Then we have to drill down on what that looks like, what that means in all the different 5 or any other thing that's occurring, right? And for your region, for the nation, that's the part of it that we have to now take and shape to be able to build around it, to figure out, okay, given everything that's going on, given the skills and talents, given the landscape, what's next? What does that look like? So the process can be there, but now the process has to also be connected to goals. The process has to be connected to outcomes. The process has to be connected in mathematically, what's going to be born and add to the cipher, right? So these are just outlines. Now we have to color it in, right? And we color it in as a collective. We color it in through sharing the best practices. We color it in through through the meetings, the builders meetings that have been had. We color it in through coming together to figure out how to support each other in all of our processes, keep each other safe, keep each other whole. What's going to happen with the law school? These are the ways that we figure out how to move this together. So that's the challenge, if you will. How do we start to figure out, what's next? And I would, give praise due to everybody here in Region 4. I think y'all are leading the way nationally in figuring out what's next, right? Being able to say, here's what's happening, And then, how do we get this out to people to say, this should be the base of what's going on? If we're thinking about schools being built, if we're thinking about the independent schools being built, here's what it looks like. We're thinking about economics, engagement with political spaces, people being political officials. Here's what it looks like, and start to etch that out. And then, to Queen Shamika's point, getting the feedback from each other, right? Because it's one thing we can all say, here's what we think is important, but what do the guys, nurses who don't come to these things think is important, right? And it's as important to know what they think is important as it is what we think is important, because if they don't think it's important, they're not coming, right? If they don't, if it's not connecting with what they want to add on, they're not adding on.
Ain't got nobody.
Right, so if they ain't got no buy-in, then they can't come and really add on with us. So that's a really big part of this, is how are we most inclusive to bring in our brothers and sisters and other people who want to be supportive, but they're not central. We're central, but how do we really start to see how we can build together by knowing what our immediate needs is, and also knowing what the dreams and aspirations of our brothers and sisters who may not be here are. So with that, I pass it to Zaire.
That's all we got. I'm gonna say peace.
Hey.
I'm also a certified Tai Chi instructor, and we will be doing half hour, 45 minutes of Tai Chi at 5:30 in one of the breakout rooms next door. So you're invited to attend, wear some comfortable shoes, and get ready to stretch and relax and deal with some mindfulness. Peace.
Does anyone have any particular questions or anything, just so? Peace. Oh, thank you, guys. All right, good.
Quick question, right? I got in tune with the God, Now See, right?
Indeed.
Right, and he was telling me that y'all don't have family days every year. Is that still?
The highest level, because every state will have one money day instead of, actually deal with some problems like that, I like that idea. Yeah. Great. All right, next coming up, my brother Born King. From Region 4, of course. He resigned in Now See, North Carolina. He's originally from Now Why, enlightened in the desert, during the early 1970s. Born King Allah is the founder of the Builders Build Group, which made the Nation of Gods on Earth 50-year anniversary God and Hip Hop Weekend in reality. He is the author of the book Situfu. Right, Situfu. And ask him what that means. It means good. The Nation of Gods and Earth speak for itself. Furthermore, he served his local community in his capacity as president of FOOD, Fruits of Organized Development, a 501c3 to meet the needs of the underserved youth in his community. Good job. Let's give a hand of applause for my brother, Born King Allah.
Peace, gods and earth. Yeah. Can y'all hear me?
You don't know, Mike.
That's what I'm asking. Can y'all hear me?
You know we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. So the song that's playing is by the Shy-Lights. And the name of it is There Will Never Be Any Peace Until God is Seated at the Conference Table. Come on, sir. So I'm going to get started, right? Because when they kept telling y'all about the janitor, I don't need a mic. When they kept telling y'all about the janitor who wouldn't open Harriet Tubman, right? It was the 2001 Showing Proof. And I'm going to show you a picture a little bit later, but I'm going to start out because as an idea pops into my mind, right? Because I've always been a God concerned about creating structure, right, for the nation. And creating structure allows us as a nation to solve problems that we all suffer from. So at some point, people were saying that we were a nation that didn't have a father, even though Allah is the God and He is the father of the nation. They was trying to tell our black women that it was illegitimate for them to have babies. Now you know that sounds super stupid. You know that there is nobody on this planet that can declare that our children are illegitimate. But you know if you're not married under the government will then declare that it was illegal for your earth to give you a son or a daughter. And to me, that sounded like a problem in need of a solution. So what did I do? I had a thought and I had an idea, and then the idea materialized, right, on paper as what the law meant when he said not to marry under the government. So what I did was I gave it to Born Law and some of my big brothers, because what I wanted them to see is the thought process that led me to write the lesson. And then, so I proposed that we have 7 gods, 6 earths. We sit down at a table, and then we would discuss the intimate details on how we, as the 5% nation of gods and earths, would come together under the sun, moon, and stars. And I suggested that we called it bonding, right? Because like I said, I'm always looking for a solution. So what I'm about to read is something else that I wrote, and it's called It's Not About Me. As the dawn of a new millennium, the nation of gods and earth stands poised to assume the leadership mantle predicted in the law will manifest. Since we are the people living in the time of predicted history, it is our deeds that will make the prediction a reality. In that light, it is time for the first of many national conferences of the nation of gods and earths. Every state in which we are represented will have a delegation of 3, with one of those presenting the views, ideas, insight, and agenda of that particular state. This is a think tank conference of all professions that contribute to the shaping and molding of an independent nation. Pads and pens, as well as laptops, are recommended necessities, because we will be getting down to the business of nation business. The event will be sponsored under the auspices of Allah Youth Center in Mecca, Inc., which at that time was under the administration of Siakil Allah. He's no longer with us. Love it. That's my giant God, man. That was my brother, man. Each participant in the conference, now listen, this is an idea. Each participant in the conference will pay $25 that will be deposited in a business account of Allah Youth Center in Mecca. These monies will then be used to procure the space for the event to take place in New York City in October of 2000. It actually happened in 2001. New York City will have a delegation of 3 from each borough, as well as any other state that is densely populated by gods and earths. I am looking for New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Detroit, Seattle, Washington, Baltimore, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Florida, California to be duly represented. I am not sure as to all the states that we have a population in, so if you happen to be in a particular place, come and make your presence felt and agenda heard. And just remember, it's not about me and it's not about you. It's about us, the universal saviors, making a way for we the people to ascend to your thrones of leadership and independence. So what you see on the screen is the original writing. I wrote this in 1999. You understand? But when I was able to bring the thought and the idea to life, it didn't happen in 2001. Act to show and prove. Now, like I said, I worked with the Allah Youth Center in Mecca under the auspices of Siakil Allah. Now, at a point when I'm at the show and prove, I'm ready to have this first national summit. I'm super excited. And Allah says, God, I can't get the key. And I says, it doesn't matter. I don't care. It's nothing can stop what it is that we are predicted to do, because Allah said we the greatest nation on the face of the planet, and that it was left up to us to show and prove that reality. So what I said was, I don't care if the door's closed. We gonna have that summit. Please put up the picture. So we did. You see that? That's the picture of the summit. That's PS 154 Harriet Tubman. Now what you don't see is you don't see Zaire, iMajestic, right? You don't see them. They're at the bottom of the steps. So what I did was I did the presentation on them steps because we had to, because it was time. Now the thing that made me so very happy is that after this first national summit, right, that had to take place outside, those guards went home to Pittsburgh and they just told you the story. They got down in that basement. Now I just as a point of information, I want y'all to know something about me, right? Is that I would sacrifice, right, my time, my physical composition, right, for the furtherance and growth and development of this nation. I've done it, I do it, I did it.
Talk to him, son.
When the gods asked me to come to Father Rule, I came. That's how my relationship with Zaire, his earth, you know, we had 1434 Mott Avenue. You know what I'm saying? I resided in the basement. They resided upstairs. You know, Aquasia is Qualisha's little sister. Right? Qualisha lived in the basement with her God Lord Wise. I lived in that same basement. Because this is the growth and development. This is how gods and earths come together for a common cause. And the common cause was to make sure that our babies was safe out there. So any of those people that was acting less than civilized, calling our babies the N-word and all of that, we had to regulate. So it was not an issue for us to do so. You know, Zaire, when we were sitting right here, he whispered in my ear, he said, God, I still remember when you knocked the cop out, right? Because the cop had tried to arrest our brother. I jumped on the back. Yo, God, I put the cop in the chokehold, God. God, get away. The guard got away, and I got away. This is what I'm talking about. If y'all not ready to sacrifice for the greater good, right? Don't talk to me, right, about nothing. I don't really want to hear it.
That's right.
But I have to hear you because what you do talk to me about might be something I need to learn. So I'm not the arrogant individual who doesn't take, right, lessons from my younger brothers or my little brothers. That's not who I am. Who I am is a God that loves this nation so much and has given years, months, and days, man, you know, to make sure that that happened. So I want to talk about Region 4 because this is our 19th time doing this. And all of y'all need to give yourself a round of applause.
That's right, that's right.
Go ahead. I don't see anybody clapping.
That's right.
And the reason why I say this to y'all, and listen, man, I'm not even playing, man. We set a standard for regional conferences. Yo, God, can you play that video? This is me introducing the regional conference at my brother's request in front of the Universal Parliament in Mecca, right? But remember, we in Region 4, right? So in Region 4, God, we took the mantle of the growth and development process because, God, Lexington was the heart. Love Equality Unknown, Lexington was the heart, right? We had the Greensboro was God's borough, right? Charlotte, the God Shabazz born there from day one when we started our conferences in 2003. And God, let me just give y'all just a little blueprint on how Region 4 began to manage the first conference. We would meet every 2 weeks or once a week, God, and we would collect money, God. And when we would collect money, right, and Shabu was there from day one, God, we always was able to pay for the conference. God, the first conference, God, we flew our keynote speaker in. We put him up in the hotel, and the whole nation was talking about how magnificent that conference was, God. Because it was, God. Because we understood that by creating the 9 regions that was created, it made the nation smaller, which meant that we now, no matter where we were in the country, we had made the nation smaller so that we would know, well, in Region 1, God, you know, this is what's going on. Let it play, but take the sound out, right? Region 2, Region 3, Region 4. We are Region 4. That's Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And who would have thunk it, right? That the Bible Belt South would be the premier part of this nation that made the growth and development shine.
Shine, son.
And I want y'all that was there from day one, and you know who you are. I'm looking at you, but I ain't saying nothing, but you know who you are. And what we did, the beautiful thing about what we did is that from the bottom up, when the God, this is most important. This ain't no top down. This ain't no we reporting the Mecca thing. Because remember this, and I'm not even joking, Mecca learned from us.
Talk to him, son.
Because we showed them. We showed them how to shine with this, man. And so when we say from the bottom up, that meant that in let's say in North Carolina, right? in North Carolina, what we realized, that's me introducing the growth and development process to the nation at the Universal Parliament. Look who's in the front row. Just do the knowledge, right? What we did from the bottom up, right, in each city, God, is that we came together and we would take the parliaments, right? We would take the parliaments from Godsboro, because if Godsboro was in a high tide, right? Because everybody will know this, even in your local city or town, no matter what city or town you're from, you're going to have a high tide and a low tide. What that means is, at a point in time, the number of gods and earths that participate in building or growing and developing might shrink or it might grow. So if let's say Godsboro, now watch this, if Godsboro is in a high tide, what we would do is we would not only have parliaments in Godsboro, but we would take the energy of the high tide and bring it to the heart, right? So the gods in Godsboro would travel to Lexington and they would have a parliament. Then we would take it from Lexington and go to Salisbury, right? Then we would take it from Salisbury and go to Charlotte. So what we're doing is we're transferring energy, right? And as we transfer the energy, we're growing. Because this is how you grow, right? Because some of us are the piece with magnetic and some of us are not. I pity the ones playing. But you can increase the level of magnetic that you have, right? By your dedication and your input in the work that you do for the growth and development of your nation. We got sisters in here, man, that get it all. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. I recognize that. And I applaud them. I applaud our sisters. But they put that work in. Endlessly, tirelessly. You understand? Because it ain't about me. And it ain't about you. It's about us. It's always been. It's about us, gods, so that Allah can never die, so that God will live forever. And it's about her, because without her, he and she can't get here.
That's right.
Knowledge and wisdom.
Understanding is the clear picture. How many of y'all can draw pictures with your words? Huh? How many of y'all can do that? Because that's how you make the people see that our nation ain't no joke, man. Listen, man, I took on, when I say I create institutions because I see problems, yo, God, I went to the Department of Corrections, God, and I remember when I first mentioned it to my brothers at it, like just the regular Universal Parliament. I said, you know what, man, my brothers is being, see my young guy right there? You see him? That's when he was little. Now, he see the energy, so he want to build like his old dad. Look at him. And he's slapping everybody fire.
That's right.
Because energy is contagious. He got the energy and he want to build. That's why the babies are the greatest. That's why the young who are in Region 4 right now, y'all have to know this history. Like, we did this 19 times. You understand? And when Zaire tells you what he told you with that breakdown, because we took the mantle and we made it happen here, man. And what I'm saying to y'all is that today, we didn't know, right? I didn't know when I stood on them steps, and I didn't know when I got the call from Zaire, and they said, yo, God, we got the knock. I was so happy, but I didn't know that we would be 19 years later looking beautiful. Because we all got the knowledge of self. Now we learning the knowledge of economics, right? God, I'm an author of 2 books, right? So when I wrote the books, I created my own publishing company, right? So my publishing company is No Cap Publishing. When you mentioned fruits of organized development, we created that together. The hardest part of that was the 501 part, the C3 part. I mean, the 501 was fairly simple. The C3 part was dealing with, oh my God, the tax exemption status. Yo, God, word is borrowed, God. 3 times they said no. But we got it on the 4th time, God. Because we winners over here, God. We not losers. We don't quit, God. This This was my first national conference meeting proposal. Every state, the participants send a delegation, lawyers, proposal writers, fundraisers, specialists, entertainment promoters, grassroots leadership, and to present the topics of discussion, nation building, consolidation of resources for health, education, and political advantages, as well as crime and prison in our community and the nation. The cultural equation creation, defining ourselves to the world so that we can conquer illegitimacy with the creation of our own cultural customs. The establishment of honor days and the nation account. Delegation comprised of both God and earth, super important. The establishment of national communications. The national distribution of 5% of the newspaper to be sold nationally. The establishment of a product unique to the nation of God's earth that will serve as our identifying primary fundraiser beside the 5% newspaper. Happy to see this up. How to best utilize the law you sent in Mecca 501c3, not for profit status. Every state has its own council where population is small. The council of 13 will be enough. Out of the 13, the state will send the qualified 7. Of course, whenever we're dealing with a number of 13, we're talking about God, 7 gods, 6 earths.
That's right.
New York will have a council of 13 for every borough that has interest in population to support it. Mecca, Pelon, Desert, Medina, Long Island, and every part that wants to be recognized must send delegates. Each delegation will have a spokesman, the presenter of its facts, ideas, and contribution. Have a branch of a law you center in Mecca in every state, thus making it a national non-profit. A law you center can become the national law you center in Mecca. Since there is no present-day category that we fit in, we must create our own. So I did that. I did that. And I did that when I battled the Department of Corrections so that we didn't have to act like Masons and hide our flags and hide our lessons. I told the Department of Corrections, I said, you know what I'm saying? We are a nation of God's and earth's 5% that's free from religion. So it's not enough to say what you're not. You also got to show and prove what you are. So when they asked me who I am and what we are, I said we are God-centered culture. Now I took some blowback from y'all from that. But I said, well, wait a minute. Of course we're God-centered culture. I said God is above his head, right? So every time I go into the courtroom and the first word is God, it's above the judge's head because above the judge, it says, in God we trust.
Talk to him.
So the affairs of God is beyond the rule of man. I am the ruler, right? I'm the ruler. He makes a ruling, but I'm the ruler. I said centered because everything that we say and do is centered in the reality that who's God?
Black man.
The black man is God, right? And then culture just speaks to you the custom, principles, mores of a people at any given time in any given place. And here we are in the wilderness of North America, which used to be the poor part of the planet Earth, which we made the most powerful part of the planet Earth, gods and earths. We did that. He just beat us when we didn't do it fast enough.
Talk to him.
Do y'all not understand what's going on? Everything that's great about this land is because of our blood, our work, our sweat, our tears, our ancestors. So I suggest we define ourselves as a God-centered culture. I penned that. I created that. When I created that, I created in the same year, 2003, the National Office of Cultural Affairs. My co-founder is Powerful Ruling Nation of Law. It was born alive in the free cipher, contrary to liars who lie. Because it was born when I was going to the Intelligent Tariq trial in New York City. I visited with his lawyers. If anybody wants proof, this is the past from downtown.
Talk to him.
Well, I visited with his lawyers and showed and proved to them that this man who was saying that he was righteous despite the fact that he was a prisoner must win this case. And we did.
That's right.
So once I saw that we was going to win, I said we have to create a professional office to serve as an intermediary between the Department of Corrections, right, and this nation, because they didn't know who we were. So when I dealt with them, we came with a calendar of honor days, starting with the father's physical and ending with day one. Now some of y'all might try to come back at me, 10-10, that's what we, you know what I'm saying? That's how we said it, 10-10 wins. Who's from New York and remembers 10-10 wins? Ah, very good. So that's creating an institution that can live without me. So even when I am no longer here, the National Office of Cultural Affairs will continue to function. Just last week, I received notice from Michigan that we just won another case of freedom in Michigan.
That's right.
On
That's right.
December 23rd,
That's right.
23, we just won a victory here in North Carolina. And the beautiful thing, when I say these things, I'm not just reporting what I read. I'm reporting on how I walked the God whose name is on the victory to the victory.
Mm-hmm.
Writing affidavits. Oh, I'm nice with that because I enjoy it. I'm a freedom fighter, man. I fight for this freedom, man. I get in. Yeah, I get in. See, my field of expertise might not be in the economic field, but when it comes to solving issues and problems, right, that affect us as a people, yeah, I use the word I, but this work is for us. Because who else is solving problems? Everybody makes money. A lot of us don't take nothing on face value, but we are forced to, aren't we? Every single day. The white man is dead, but his ghost is killing us, right?
Talk to him about that paper.
Now, Allah said don't take none of face value, but you have to. If you want to eat, you want to have a house, you want to have clothes, right? Depending on whose face is in your pocket on a piece of paper painted green, determines if you can eat, if you can have a house, right? Am I joking?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's because you're supposed to be the Lord of all the world. See, there's two worlds. See, a lot of y'all is superstars in the sixth world. See, I'm a seven world, you know what I'm saying, resident. Yeah, I live in seven. Now, being that I'm a Lord of all the worlds, I can descend into six and do my thing. Right? But I don't get to shine in six. I get criticized in six. Because I might be disrupting the plans of those who want to give our land to another man that don't look like us. You know, I wrote a biography and I told the earth, I said it's a biography book. Because I wanted y'all to understand and have on paper just some of the things that I've done, right? To solve the issues and concerns and problems that our nation has been faced with. And they being practically applied, they work because they create benefits. There are brothers sitting in here right now who, well, no, I'm not pointing them out, but they know when they rang this phone, I answered. And I walked them through the trials and tribulation and showed them the key to freedom. In my book that's sitting outside Satufu, I broke down how to do a 1983. Anybody know what a 1983 is? Who in here doesn't know what a 1983 is? That's a lot of people. A 1983 is a lawsuit, God, that you fill out, God, when you have been wronged and you have been injured, right, by a government or a higher power structure, you know what I'm saying, in the government, man. And so, being that I understand the power of a 1983, because I am one of the only gods in the history of this nation who, while, because of Allahu Akbar, they took control of my physical composition, which is how I met Black Messiah and walked the yard with him every day, which is how I met Born Allah and met with him every afternoon. That when I was there, they found me guilty of being God in Clinton Correction Facility. Did you think I took that laying down? No. You know what I did? I said, I'm the true and living God. You knew that when you saw me. I didn't hide it. I ain't no Mason. I ain't no secret squirrel. And so what I did was, I did an Article 78. When I was done, the Attorney General forced the New York State Department of Corrections to give me back my lessons, to give me back my flag, to give me back my good time, to give me back everything. And you know what? I never used the R word. Does anybody here have an idea what I mean by the R word? Right. Because God, we are, the R word is the word religion. I never use that word. You know why? Because all religions tried to kill us, which is why we don't subscribe to no religion. You name me one religion that ain't tried to kill the black man, woman, and child. Look at what Islam did in the first slave trade. Look at what the Pope, how the Pope decreed that we could be bought and sold and murdered. Look at the book of Genesis, where they said that we was We are the product of a homosexual curse that Noah's son saw him naked. So Noah, being this dynamic witch that he just happened to be, cursed his son, but the curse didn't hit his son, it hit his grandson, who turned from white to black.
Talk to him.
So in the book of Genesis, in the Bible, they hated us because they said we, the black man, woman, and child, are a product of a curse. Not only that, but that not only is the curse that we went from white to black, but that we will forever be white people's slaves until time immemorial. That's in the book of Genesis. If you have read that book and didn't come across that yet, go back and check it out. I'm telling y'all the truth, man. So what I'm saying to you is that they came at our father because he told us the truth. He, being the black man God in the flesh of his body, see, the first thing that the devil learned when he found out that God was real, he understood the real God has flesh. And so being that he is the natural destroyer, when he saw that God had flesh, and being that he is the natural destroyer, right? He always sought to destroy the flesh. So he came for our father's flesh. You saw the picture of Malcolm peeking out the window?
Yep.
You saw what they did to Martin King? You seen what they did to countless numbers of black men. You seen what they did to Sandra Massey the other day. They shot her in the eye. You see what they did to our father, man. 7, man. You know, when I was rocking with my man right there, Lord Justin, you know what I'm saying? We be in the projects, man. We'd always go to the elevator, God. You understand, God? What projects is that, Lord? God, we would go there, God. Because we had to see, man. You understand? The reality of what... That's why we got the knowledge so God would never die again. He can't kill us. He kills the one. That's why we many. We many. But see, God's in earth, this message has to be delivered in real time so y'all can feel it. So you can take it home with you. So in your brain, after you leave here, you thinking about it. And as you think about it, you might write about it. You might do something that changes, right, your understanding of what this nation is and what you can be in this nation as far as a productive member, a productive citizen. I don't use the word member. A productive citizen who brings change. And listen, God and earth, yeah. That thought and idea that I had for the National Summit, God, it produced, you know what I'm saying, something beautiful where the 9 regions came from his fruit, Zaire's fruit, you know what I'm saying? And it made me so very happy. And I had no issues with making sure, right, that the nation was exposed to it, the nation accepted it. Region 4 accepted it the best. We've done our thing for the past 19 years. And I have no doubt whatsoever that we will continue to shine and show the world the power of Almighty God Allah and his sons and his daughters. And with that, I want to say peace to the gods and the earth.
Yes.
Phase to my dynamic brother.
Problem, God.
Born King.
All up. I had to shake your hand for that after that.
Peace.
Peace.
Our next guest presentation comes from Sabah Allah and assisted by Shabu B. Allah, born in Far Rockaway, Queens. Allah went through 120 lessons or 120 degrees with him in the law school. Graduated from Harlem Prep in 1970, 1 year after Dumar Wade and Umar in 1969. Sabah also one of the black karate experts in New York that was mentioned in the Amsterdam News.
Where's Sue Baldwin? Where's Sue Baldwin? To the bathroom? Huh? Okay. You up, Sue Baldwin? They're introducing you now.
Subar, they introducing.
Okay.
Bon bienvenue, nous sommes.
1982, Charles Lee Law is a key member of the Business Building, and he is one of the reasons for most of the W buildings. So give a hand for Sabah Law and Charles Lee Law.
Yeah, pig. Come on, Super Bowl. They ain't never heard. They don't know. Hit it. Move that. No. Go on, sit down.
I just want to say to y'all with this presentation today that it has been above outstanding. And I personally recorded this to make sure I could put this up on my YouTube so that everybody can see what's going on. Because it ain't just us, it's y'all. And this is what leads me to say that knowledge means to look, listen, observe. But the most important part of knowledge is respect. You got to respect the things that people have done. You got to respect the reality that if it wasn't for them brothers, 5% of them brothers that decided to teach us, then who would you get taught by? And when I ran into this the first time in 1973, I was 11 years old, and I went to Albany Projects in Brooklyn, New York. And when I went there, my older cousins that were gangbangers, because see, when I was growing up back then in the early 70s and whatever, the Tomahawks and the Jolly Stompers, the Hellcats, the Together Brothers, all of that. And that's what I bring to my page so that they can see that the gangism was destroyed through us getting knowledge of self. So in 1973, when I went over there to my cousins that was teaching me all the dirt in the streets and everything else, I walked into the house, and the first thing that I saw on the refrigerator was a pig sign. It said, wanted 999 disease. And then I walked to the back where my cousins was, Boo Boo that was Supreme, and my other cousin Butch that's Rasheem at that time. And when I walked in the room, now understand, they grimy. They teaching me all the foul, credit cards, breaking people's houses, all the dirt. But I could see a change in them physically. And so I seen that they were sitting there reading a book. And I said, yo, man, what's that about? Let me see that. They said, nah, you gotta go in the bathroom and wash your hands. I'm like, man, what's going on? These dudes is on something different. I go in the bathroom, I wash my hands, I come back out, and my cousin give me the Book of Life, which I eventually end up getting later on down the line in my life anyway. But I read the Supreme Mathematics, Supreme Alphabets, 12 Jews, and at that moment, I still wasn't impressed. But when I got to the first degree, the student enrolled. Who is the original man? The original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, the God of the universe. I said, oh man, I gotta have this. Now remember, I'm growing up in the gang era, so I'm 11 years old. I'm willing to go through the mill with chains, bats, whatever they got, to get this. So I said to my cousin, yo, what I gotta do to get this? And he said, you gotta go on a fast for 7 days and drink nothing but water and eat ice cream.
You was lucky. You got to eat ice cream.
I was 11 years old. I couldn't comprehend that. So I said, Father, you see King, you man, I ain't down with that. And I rolled on about my business. But here come 3 years later, 1976. They had the Summer Youth Corps jobs in New York at that time. Summer Youth Corps, Manpower, all that. So instead of me going out in the streets and picking up papers and all that, they said to me, yo, you could go to school and we gonna pay you. And redirection was like, Alpha was like redirection, satellite, alternative school. We call it 600 school. So I went there that summer. And I'm saying, yo, if I get paid, and they say, you're gonna get credit toward your high school diploma. So I said, yo, that's cool, that's right up my alley. But when I went there, the whole powerhouses, as they call it, pink houses, in East Medina was flooded with nothing but guards and earths. So I ran into a brother, guard Revere, that gave it to me first. And he just gave me the supreme mathematics, supreme alphabet, 12 Jews and 1 to 10. I was calling myself Wonderful God then, But I thought that was like a statement, so I wasn't, I really wasn't into it. The only reason I say that is because I capped that kind of quick. And my man that was in my building, that was an 85, he said, yo, my brother got the whole book with all the lessons. So I'm like, yo, what? God Revere ain't around now. This is like around going into us going back to high school, September, whatever. And he gave me this book. Back then, we used to put out 120 in the album cover books. So I had this book. I started studying out of this book. So I'm in the hallway, 315, the infamous 315. That's where the law team was born. They call it 18 or whatever, but just throwing that in there. That's the hallway that I was in. And I was 14 years old. So I was studying these lessons right up on the counter. Y'all know him as Subar. But when he walked in, his name was God Allah. And he walked over to me, and he seen I was studying them degrees. And he said, them is not the right degrees. You want the right ones? I said, yeah. I still got that album cover to this day. And guess what degrees they were? They was from the man called Robert Walker. And they said, in the name of Almighty God, victorious Allah. They was what he had, they called firstborn Muslims. And how we always knew how to handle them is that they taught us to make sure that you always take them back to 120, which is your foundation. When they want to go with why is water wet, the sky is blue, and all this fantastic, plus lesson, take it back to 120. So anyway, I went upstairs with him to the 5th floor, stayed outside the door. He gave me 120. I left. I started studying. And, I was telling him about the name or whatever, and he was like, yo, you ain't got to take a name. You could just be brother. So I dropped that Wonderful God, and I was already into my 1 to 14 before I took the name Shabu, and we used to take our names through the lesson through the mathematics. So when I took it Shabu through just SHABU and added up to like wisdom or equality, I was like, nah, man, you know, I can't be with this earth thing. So I'm gonna say it's Shabu's before me. But I could say I'm the original one that added the E with the hyphen and silent over the top. So he gave me the 120, you know, and it was a sister Mecca. He gonna laugh at this. I think Mecca had feeded Lamar some pork or something, and God came down and went crazy on her, you know? And she was crying and everything, and I came over and soothed her, and she said to me, right after that, she said, I know what name fits you. I said, what name? She said, Shabu. And like I said, I took it through the math, and then Savior, he Allah born you equality. Because the man taught me to be a free and independent thinker. That's how Allah lived. So now we going through the stages, and I'm going to get off of here because I'm going to ask some certain questions so that, you know, he could give this to y'all, because a lot of times y'all see these figureheads in the nation, and those are the only ones y'all respect. He might have enlightened me, but Shasha, Shaheem, Minister, Raheem, Monique the Grapevine, I can even say Born Savior. I can say you heard, come on. Divine Prince was with me when we took over a whole school on Fountain and Belmont called the Fountain of Youth. Zion, his earth and all them I'd have known forever. We was young guards going out to Far Rockaway. What was that? 88th Street, Baker's Hall. All the park jam, no hip hop, no nothing. Wouldn't be without the guards.
That's right.
Ain't nobody dominated this reality. It was God in the ghetto. The Lord came to teach the youth.
Say it again.
So, as a young guard, back then, it was always the big degrees when you ran into somebody and said they knew 120. And I became a real problem because now I'm 14 with 120 and I'm putting everybody on the square. I don't care who you with. You don't know your math, you got a problem. So I'm going through what we going through, and I finally get my 120. December the 4th, 1976. So I'm waiting, man. I'm waiting for him. He used to work for Wildcat. He had the sheepskin hat, all that. And see, it took a certain type of individual to teach me, because for the fact I was already academically equipped. So it ain't no knucklehead that's gonna impress me to take this. But he was the perfect example of what the father's teachings was about us going to school, getting a trade, and doing all this. So even though I was out in the streets, I always went to school. But anyway, he rolls into the hallway. I got all my so-called little disciples around, you know, because I'm really not teaching nobody at that moment, because like the top of the student enrollment say, the following questions must be answered 100% before submitting to student to say lesson number 1. You qualify and disqualify yourself. So we couldn't teach nobody without first knowing 120. We didn't wear no flags without knowing 120. And the brother, one of the brothers that was with him at that time, that taught a whole bunch of us out in East Medina, Monique. Monique God used to come to the park and open up his jacket like this, and he would have flags in him with our names already in them. You understand? So like I said, I'm in the hallway, everybody's around, and he walks in the door. So I said, yo, God, I got my 120. Remember, I'm 14, I'm 62 now. I was 14 years old. And he looked at me just as cool and everything. And remember, all these brothers back then, man, they all was bad with martial arts, everything. Because y'all gotta understand, it was a small percentage of them walking around talking about the black man is God in the 60s and the early 70s. So you had to know something. And they taught us, but I ain't gonna get off track once again. So he said to me, you know your 120? I said, yeah. And like I said, I was waiting for a big degree. He said, what's the God degree in the 1 to 40? How fast does our planet travel?
Talk to him, son.
1,137 and 1/3 miles per hour. He looked at me and said, prove it. And jumped on the elevator.
That's how we do.
I'm 14. So let me give my sisters a little credit before I bring him up here. After he did that, it was a sister at that time named Love Asia. And God had sent Love Asia the Harlem Prep. So when she got the Harlem Prep, she was getting nothing but straight A's. So I go up the house, you know, she let me in, her brother, Wise Monique, before he moved out to the desert. And I'm in there and she looking at me, she like, yo, like, Sha, you acting like you got a problem. I'm like, yeah, man, I done told God I got 120. He gave me the most simplest question in the whole 120. And I tell him, you know, how fast the planet travel. And he tell me, prove it. And she looked up at me from the book and she was like what? What's the problem? What's the problem? And that was the first one that started breaking down degrees to me. She told me take 24 hours and divide it by the circumference of the planet Earth, which is 24,896. But later on online, and I'm gonna jump off because see, I could go crazy too, you know? But I'm gonna tell y'all this part. Later on, I learned that at the first degree, and that's how I used to catch a lot of Earths that thought they was real slick with their math and want to be blowing some of these peon brains out at the time. Because back then it was sisters that they could have you in their gravitational pull. And especially if they was with a God that had some wisdom and they leave him, they usually master all the other men that they get with. After being with a true and living God, you know? So that's when I learned at the first degree that the earth is traveling at 1,137 and 1/3 miles per hour at 15 degrees. Why? Because if it's at 15 degrees after 24 hours, that's 360 degrees, right? Every second, when she go from 15 to 30 degrees, she no longer traveling at 1,137, but she traveling at 2,000 and something and 2/3. By the time she get to the third, we know that when you got the numerator and the denominators both one and the same, what it become? A whole number again. That's why the earth is 24,896, approximately 25,000 miles. We from the East, man. We was warriors, but we was scientists. And you know,
that's what we was in the test.
I'm gonna let the God go right now, you know, and I just hope that y'all can enjoy this because for years, months and days, somebody that was actually as close to the Father as he was, is now getting a chance to tell y'all what that Allah world manifest was like in the flesh. Because we got so many people running around there now talking about we not the nation of gods and earths, and like Khalim and Born King and them just made that up. Like really? Like we just 5%? The 5% was our women and our children. We was babies. We wasn't even making children back then. So you telling me I'm still supposed to be stuck back in the time warp, and I'm not supposed to be responsible because the real father of civilization is taking care of his children and is taking care of his woman. Because the universe is everything. The sun, the moon, and the stars. And I don't want to crush nobody's brain cell by saying, yo, man, woman, and child was all created at the same time. Otherwise, the universe wouldn't be the universe. And with that, I'm going to bring on Subar, you know, better known to me as God Allah.
Peace to the God.
I want to say something. I observed you people today, and the brother invited me down here and told me about this. I know about y'all having these meetings, but a lot of the brothers, especially the elders, they don't respect it. It's like nothing to them. They have like a prejudice against it, which is so wrong. But I want to say that I am so proud of y'all. I'm so proud of what I saw today, that I can tell you that Allah would be proud of you too.
That's peace,
Because
God.
I'm not one of them ones that was playing around. I was standing with him. I was one of the brothers when those 3 savages came to kill him in front of the school. I was one of the brothers that stood in front of their guns so they wouldn't shoot Allah. A lot of people don't know that about what happened with the father. They tried to kill him 3 times. And 2 of those times I was there. The last one I wasn't there because he told me not to be there. But anyhow, what you're doing here, what you're doing, and all of you here with this stuff that you're doing is what Allah wanted to do. As a matter of fact, He sent each one of us to go to different states in the country so we could teach about the knowledge to spread it. He wanted it to spread. We might not have known how it was going to spread at the time, but that's what He wanted us to do. I went to Detroit first. And then when I came back from Detroit, I went to Harper College in Binghamton, New York. And I went there and told those white people I was God, so that we can make it easier for y'all. I'm back from 67. So I'm here a little longer than 30-something years. More like 50-something years. Like that. And being with the Father, I want to tell y'all about this. This is what I'm here for. He was human. He was like a person. He wasn't like the other people that I knew, but I'm going to tell you this in humor. One day, me and Allah was standing in front of the school. This was after they did that spaceship stuff to the moon. And Allah came over to me. I'm a youngster. I'm 17, 18. And He says to me, do you think they landed on the moon? So I looked up at the moon. Then I looked at him. I said, I'm 16, 17, 18, like that. I looked at him, right? And I said, I don't know. And I'm thinking, you are Allah. Well, I don't know. And then he said, I think they did because my woman is acting a little strange. So I said, oh, okay. And by the way, the earth, Allah called y'all His daughters. He didn't call y'all, but they used the word earth at the time, but He called y'all His daughters. And when those savages hit one of His daughters, He let us know, take care of His daughters. So you were valuable to Him, and He taught that to me. He was also open-minded in His teachings. He wasn't like regulated or restricted. One day we in the school, he's teaching all of us 120. We're going through the lessons. Everybody's quoting the lessons and answering it according to what they read, what they learned. So being a free and independent thinker, when he got to 34, to me, number 34, he said, can you reform endeavor? I said, yes. I answered contrary to the lessons, so I could see what he would do and how he would act. Because the brothers that was there at the time had their own way of teaching, which was not like him. Which is why I went to Mecca. I moved to Mecca so I could be close with him and see him every day and go through the knowledge with him. He said to me, this is what his answer was. He was not upset. He didn't try to barbecue me or roast me. He just said to me, then you don't understand culture. So I said, Paige, you know? Then he went to the next brother and the next brother. And it was like, but I mean, he was not regulated. And by him saying that thing about the spaceship landing, right? His impression of the woman was like she was really the earth to him. Because I first went to Mecca in order to study him. I wanted to know this phenomenal being because I was really lit up by him. I searched for a while when I was Razan. I ran into a brother named Subah. That was the first contact I had with 5%. Subah. That's my name. All right, because this guy had, I'm gonna say straight up, is there any babies in here? This guy belt my sister's rear end. And I was the black belt already. So I was killing them on the steps of my building. And then I heard a voice behind me say, don't kill him, God. He's your brother. So I said, he put his hands on my sister. He must die. Or you're gonna die. Remember, I'm a black belt and I'm a savage. I used to eat ham sandwiches. I didn't know none of that stuff he was talking about. But then when I said, what are you talking about? I took the guy and threw him in the garbage can, put the top on it. And then I turned around to this guy named Subah, and I was like, he's my brother. He touched my sister on the beer end. Okay. And he said, you the original man. The Asiatic black man. The maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, 1967, we thought it was not, actually 1966. He's telling me this, I'm like, where'd you get this from? Because I never heard a black man speak like that before. I heard of Elijah Muhammad at that year in time, but I didn't hear nobody talk like this. He had a little red book. He said, I got it in my book, I wrote it down. He said, memorize that and I'll give you some more. The next day I was at his house talking about, where's the more? His name was Subah. He got arrested and something happened, he got killed. And I really didn't appreciate it, so I took his name and made it live. And added a little bit of something to it. And it's not Subah, it's Subah. S-U-B-A with a hyphen over the A. That's all my life they always call me Subah, but no, it's Subah. Like that. God, Subah, Allah.
You're not going nowhere.
Now, when my name was God, Allah, the reason that he encountered me like that was because when they did what they did to the Father, we were supposed to be there, right? We wasn't there because he sent us home. So I got pissed about it. How dare them do that to the Father? So we, the brothers, all of us was there, we decided that, hey, my name is going to be God. Your name, your middle name would be whatever you decided, and our last name would be Allah. This was because we were not afraid of them, the ones that did what they did. We wanted them to come back. so we can have some fun. We wanted to have some fun, but they never came back. But this is why our names are in the order that they're in. Now you're in school, after Allah left, I used to sit in that front window in a chair, sometimes with a God U Nation, sometimes without.
Thank you.
And I used to protect that school for all 50 years. I've seen generations come and generations go. Allah decided that, because some of us was trained in martial arts, but Allah decided me, the baby, was going to be the one that taught the nation. So for all these years, I've been teaching guards how to defend themselves. The brother that spoke about self-defense, I had people come into the school uptown in Mecca and shoot through the door. Open the door and shoot in there with the place filled with women and children. Now, if you're in a situation like that, you can't run. Everything is real. And Allah used to always say that. Everything is real. Not everything is for real, everything is real. So I was in the back of the school, they had a room back there, they don't have it now.
Yep. Used to be a room.
And I was in that room, so I heard the shots, so I broke out the door. And I was like, kill these mother, you know, what? But the sisters and the brothers that was cowards ran. So when I went out, they knocked me down. And I hit the floor, but then I got back up. I went to the door, that nigga got away. There was all kinds of stuff used to happen in Mecca. None of us were sissies. None of the guards was cowards. Now, one day I'm having a class in Mecca. There's 15 of us. And Allah was outside. Allah was outside, the Father. And a brother came running into school and he said, yo, God, these 3 niggas got Allah outside and they got guns on them. So I said, them niggas sound like they crazy. Them niggas have a gun on Allah. Out of his mind, right? But when I went out the door, guess what? It was 3 niggas that had guns on Allah. And they was around him. So I said to myself, it's too late for Kung Fu. We gotta do this for real. So I walked over to one nigga, and he had his hand, it was a revolver. I took the revolver and put it here. My students surrounded everybody.
The mic.
My students surrounded everybody. Zulman El Rahim, the other 2 Kung Fu teachers, came out and did the same. So I told the students, when I eat these 6 bullets, kill these MFs. And Allah was standing there looking. Allah was standing there, he was looking. So the guy, he took his revolver, uncocked it, and put it in his pocket. And they walked away. And Allah said to me, why did you do that? I can handle that. And I was like, I'm a black belt now. I know about reality. And I'm saying, yeah, but we can handle it better together. And then I got up on him and looked him in his eyes. And none of y'all seen that. A lot of the brothers that was there at the time didn't look him in his eyes. I looked him in his eyes. And what I saw in his eyes, I was so close that I saw me in his eyes. And he told me, come with me. Now, they had a place called the Basement on the corner where the Street Academy is now. It was a hole, like you go downstairs. So Allah says, come with me down here. So I go down the hole, and I look around, and there's a whole bunch of people in there right there, shooting dice.
Walters?
Huh?
Was that Walters?
God, they gotta get Sheriff God up. He's the last.
My time is up?
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, just to let you know, Allah he was a real person. He was a human being. And if you met him, you'd have liked him.
Hey!
Hey, y'all.
Hey, good job.
He talking about Allah.
Let him.
Please.
I'll share my time with him.
Okay,
That's it, God.
Can you repeat the last part, because I missed it? What happened, we on the whole now?
There was some people shooting dice.
Okay.
So I'm with Allah right now. I'm a young kid. I'm a young kid. And then a guy came in behind Allah, and he pulled out like a soda bottle cap, and he had a bag with some white powder in it. And he went to take it and pour it in the cap, the soda bottle cap. And Allah saw me looking, right? I didn't know what to do. So Allah turned around, and he said, "What? What are you doing?" Next thing I know, tick, 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 tick. And I looked around, everybody there had guns. All of them had guns. I said, "I can't fight a bullet here." And Allah said, "You can't do that here." And the guy said, "Okay, I'm sorry. And he said, I won't do it. And I said, "Oh, shit, let me get out of here," right? And then Allah took me out. We went up back upstairs in front of the school. And that ended. So that's how Allah was. And the people that knew him, they knew he wasn't no sissy. When he turned around and said that brother dropped that, whatever that was, I don't know what that was. And he dropped it. Just to let you know, your father was real with what he said, and he looked at it like as it is in heaven, so shall it be on earth. He looked at it like that. Life. Not a
Oh Lord God, could you tell him that the father about his own style?
He had a style, we call twine fist, which was as similar to the system of martial arts that I use now, which is called Wing Chun, close quarters combat. But he seemed to have known about it. I don't know why. He knew about it, but before I knew about it. And it was a way that he punched you in close quarters if you didn't have a weapon, which is what they said he used on those ones that came to get him. They said it was 5 people. I think it was more. Probably was like a military action, and they had agents all around like that. But he had it was similar to what the Muslims were doing before Moses Powell came there. Because Moses Powell taught the Muslims. I taught the 5 percenters. And nobody messed with us. We beat everybody, all of them. Black Muslims, Sunni Muslims, everybody. Panthers, nobody messed with us. We was known as the most violent group on the East Coast. That's because telling people that you God, when they're used to a God in the sky, it's not easy. No, one savage told me one night, 12 o'clock at night, I'm going home. And he bumped into me, he's drunk. He said, "Get out of my way." I said, "Nigga, I'm God. What are you talking about? Get out of your way." And he pulled out this big knife, right? And he said, "I will cut you. What you gonna do if I cut you?" I said, "Well, I will probably bleed all over you, and I will scream like hell because you just cut me." But then I said, "But if I don't bleed, and I don't scream like hell, then if I was you, I'd get out of here, because I would be something else that you would not understand." He just said, "Okay," and put his knife away, and I went home. That's one way to resolve it without getting violent. But back then we had a lot of violence. To let you know, they was coming at us when the brothers said it was God, they was killing them left and right. It was the Harlem 7, they dropped it to 6. When they first told people they was God, and the people said, "You know what?" They dropped them. They was not friendly. They told the savages, "We're God," and the savages said, "You ain't no God." Bam! What? That's how we started. And that's the people that I know. You people are different. And what I got to say about that is that you down here in Virginia, where the Ku Klux Klan and everybody is, you're all down here with all the slavery and all the Civil War and all the hell happened. And look at you, you're God. Allah would have loved you all. Keep doing what you're doing because that's how you got to do it. We didn't know how it was going to be done, but yeah, you're doing the right thing.
Subal, can I ask you one question?
Yes, sir.
Did Allah ever prepare you for a time when He would not be with us?
Yeah, He told us that, see, when Allah was, when this thing was going to happen to him, He knew. He was telling that they offered him $1 million to shut up. And we was little kids, right? I was like, he ain't even do nothing to Allah, especially me, you know, because I'm crazy. I'm crazy about Allah. But he said, no, y'all have to be able to carry it on. And even when it happened, he was telling me, because you might wonder, why was his bodyguards not there with him when it happened? He told us to go home. He told me to go home. That it was nothing that I was going to be able to do. I disagreed. Because they would have had to kill me too. I would have loved that. I would have had me some fun. I like to have fun.
You wouldn't be here to tell us this right now, though.
I really don't care. Somebody else would have told me. My other students, I got a lot of students. There's the one right there. I got a lot of students. Huh?
Ahmed told me.
Ahmed?
Yeah. He told me the father said go home.
Yeah, he knew it was happening, and he said that it's like if you take a chicken, right, and you chop the head off, the chicken body ought to be just running around in circles because it won't know what to do. So we can't be like that. We can't have no leader. He told us that. So we was prepared for that. We knew, but we didn't want to know, but we knew. And we was kids.
God, I just got one more question I need you to clarify.
We gotta get off this room.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go, Shan. Did Allah ever call you God? Did He ever say to you that we are the nation of God, the earth?
Oh, me and Raheem, old man Raheem, we was in the street academy, and Allah walked in one day, right behind us. And then He looked at me and said to me, you're not a 5%er. I said, no, I'm not. And Ryan said, no. And then he looked at the other one and says, I know why you're not a 5%er. But the 5%ers, they was violent, they was crazy. That's the name the police gave them for being jailbirds. Allah said to me, oh, because you're the one who teaches about the true and living God. No, we are the true and living gods. That's what we are. The ones that listen to us, those are the 5%ers. The 5%ers are they're the ones who know who we are. But we are who we are. So you could be a 5%er. We don't mind because that's how the city designated us. They call us that. Yeah, but that's our violent side. When we want to be like sophisticated with the gods. When we want to be sophisticated with the gods, yeah, we like it like that. But Allah said that, and anybody that don't agree with us because they wasn't there. And they can tell you whatever they want to tell you. But Allah was standing next to me when He said it. And none of them niggas in this nation could kick my ass. And I'm elderly, I'm 75. I'm 75. Anything else?
Stand by. You coming up, black man? Come on, let me do your bio, Bob. Everybody knows Sam Bob. I'm gonna do his bio. Okay. We got God, Sam God, coming up. Sam God has been a member of the 5% since the very young age of 12 while living in Mecca, Harlem, New York. He came up in the wake of the 60s, where consciousness ran rapidly throughout the city. He is the proud father of 12, through his own blended family. Many of us know him by the name Black Seed Sam God. That's because we have a few other Sam gods in this nation. Peace. Come on up, Sam.
Peace.
Peace, family. Peace. You gotta get up. Come here. Come here, you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is from your brother, from Elon, that you train with and everything from the law tree. He said, tell him the truth.
Hold on, you want to get that picture?
Peace. We have to give this up at 5 o'clock, so I'm going to be brief. I'm going to talk about the past, present, and the future. My past, like I said, I got this at 12 years old. My family lived on 118th Street in Mecca. And I was a runaway. I wasn't part of no family unit. Every chance I got to run away from home, I ran away from home. A brother that I used to run with named Born of Law Christ, Black Seed, may he rest in peace. He's out of Medina. He was the one that introduced me to the Father. We was going up to St. Nick Project to do some dirt. He was 13, I was 12. And we come down 7th Avenue and the Father was there. The brother knew the Father because his family was in March number 7 with Allah. And he wanted to know what was we doing on that end of town unsupervised. So I didn't know who he was, but the brother did all the talking. So Allah asked him, he said, man, you gonna bring him around? This your man? He said, make sure that he elevate to the level that you was at. That was my first introduction to Allah, February 24th, 1965. Next year, I celebrate my 60th year in this nation. I never wanted to be anything but a 5%. My brothers that lived on the 117th Street was Colleen, Hakeem, Ali, Living Truth, and Qasim. We lived around the corner from each other. But I hung out mostly uptown because that's where the older brothers was at, and that's what was happening. Sugar Hill was what was happening, so I stayed uptown. Now, dealing with the Almighty God Allah, the reason that I love Allah is because, as the God said, the Father was totally different than anybody that I had ever met. He was mild-mannered. He didn't raise his voice too much. But when he got mad, trust me, you knew about it, whether he was talking to you or not. You felt that he was talking to you. You know, and I never forget when I moved to Medina, East New York. You talked about somebody that I love dealing with, by Monique. Because me and Monique did a lot of teaching in East New York. We used to always go up to the school, and the Father would tell us, listen, I don't want to catch y'all up here every day because y'all are too young and y'all should be in school. Y'all shouldn't be out here. And this was in 67. After he came out of Mattawan and Mayor Lindsay gave him the Street Academy. It was no hangout spot. He got there for the babies, the children. That's who that school was, the young teenagers that he had amongst them. Remember, and God can tell you, because he older than I am, I'm 70 years old, he says 75. It was few babies in this nation. So therefore, he had teenagers. And don't y'all forget it. And when you come up with something unique, don't back down. Born King told y'all earlier about his passion and everything and why he do what he do. I never heard the Father say the babies is the greatest. I heard the gods and the earth say that the babies are the greatest. I heard that the Father, and I know for a fact, he said, teach the young. That's who he told us to be. That's who he had. Roughneck teenage kids that was out of their mind. And he had to do whatever he had to do to show us the right direction. I love my old dad until the day he died, but I love the law because he had the patience and he had the time to deal with me. I had two brothers that I passionately ran with when I was early. That's Harmeen, whose name was God Allah. Later on, he passed away. The God brother and master in karate, Allah Freedom. We've known each other since we was children, and it was us. And the father could not understand why 3 black seeds was all together. He said, damn it, I told y'all, get a brown seed, get a yellow seed. But we just loved each other, so we just ran together. You asked an important question, and I like that. The last time that we seen Almighty God Allah, and I'm just moving forward because of time, but I can get in anything that I need to get in. The last time that we seen Allah was in the December Parliament of 1968. All 3 of us was in the same training school. In other words, we was in juvie. We got in trouble, that's where they sent us. When we came home, all 3 of us, like I said, was together. We was with Allah. Though we all had books of life, before then, the first official book of life that I got in this nation was out of the hand of Almighty God Allah when we came home that December. He went to the cabinet in the back, and he went in there, and it was entitled The Book of Life for the 5%. That's what was on the yellow envelope, manila envelope that he gave us, and it had 120 degrees. He gave each of us our own copy. And he told us when we get back to the institution, teach the brothers from this. This way, y'all all have the same lessons, and there's no discrepancy on what y'all was learning. Now, usually when you come home on a furlough, you get either 7 to 10 days. We was on our way back. And he said something that we didn't understand until the day he went home, God. The father told us that December 28th, I'll never forget, he told us, he said, I might not be here when y'all get back. Really, this is to some 14, 15-year-old young children. We wasn't thinking about no death, nothing negative at all. We didn't understand it, we just took it for granted. He said something to us. We walked in the mess hall at Otisville State Training School. And one of the brothers in the mess hall said that Allah got killed. And trust me, it took everything in me to keep from bashing him in the damn head because we thought that it was a lie. Now, most of you guys, how many of you guys have heard the tape of the Father? Okay, great. That was done up in Otisville Training School. Who orchestrated it was this psychologist by the name of Dr. Clark. On the tape, you probably heard the name Ben Graziano. Go back and check it out. He was one of the administrators up there for the Division of Youth. Ben Graziano called Allah Freedom, myself, and Harmeen because we were the oldest brothers and we got the teachers in the street. He called us and he told us that the father got killed. He said, I can't let y'all go home because y'all are not his immediate family. But what I'll let y'all do, I'll let you brothers have a parliament and come together as long as y'all keep it peaceful. And he allowed us to call the school. That's where we got our information. So what was crazy about it and why I'm telling y'all that is if y'all have children and everything, a lot of them don't know about life and death. And they think that we are invincible. And in terms of that, if you die unexpectedly or while they are young, they ain't understanding. And it's gonna hurt. It hurt us, but we understood. And all of us looked at each other and said, damn, that's what he meant when he told us 6 months ago that he might not be here. July, when we came home, because 2 of us got released in July, the other got released in August of that year. When we went down to Mecca to the school, I kid you not, the school looked like that we was on the desert. And you know how they show you the mirage, because it was on a hot, hot summer day. Everything that Allah told us not to do because we were young and lacked understanding, we did. Everything that he told us not to do, we turned around and we did. So, you know, when people talk about you young people, I don't hold none of y'all responsible for what happened in this nation during that period of time, because some of y'all wasn't even around. It was us older brothers that gave our commitment to Allah to keep this going. But being young, and I tell brothers all the time, ask for grace. If you ask for grace, you can get it because you're sincere about it. And we turn to drugs, we turn to alcohol, and other things that was not good for us. Because those things medicate you, those things put you in a state of mind that you don't want to do anything other than submit to that which you was taking. Lucky enough for the gods, or those that was doing those things, woke up and realized that they had a job and responsibility. And listen, I thank you too, Bob, for inviting me. Some young brothers asked me last year if I would, do a podcast for them. And I told them, I said that I would do it only on one condition. I did it because they were young brothers and they wanted to know. I said, if I can't tell y'all the whole truth and nothing but the truth, if I got to get on here and lie, I'd rather not do it. Because you need to know. What's that old slogan? We fall down, but we do what? Get back up. That's your greatness. That's our slavery, period, that we went through as young men and women and older brothers and older women. Our past, he touched up on it, how great we was, because he talked about slavery. That we was kings and queens, we was here. The young got inquisitive and wanted to leave home, not knowing what was going to happen to them. They came here to the wilderness of North America, and y'all know the story. This is my home, this is my birth state. I was born in Suffolk, Virginia. And any of y'all know that? That's the peanut factory. Buying peanuts. Yes, sir. That's where I was born at. Where did they say we landed? Jamestown, Virginia. All right? So we know their mishap, and they came up out of it. We had to go through our trials and tribulation. We came out of it because the only way that we can show and prove that Allah lived is by continuing to teach. He never asked us for no money. He never asked us to do anything that we had to pay him, bow down to him, or anything else. Like the God said, he got hit that night because those that protected him, he told him he wanted to go home by his damn self. I listened to the God, and why I shared my time with him and told him don't cut him off, because y'all need to know that. We loved him that much, we would not let nothing happen to him. But when he told us something and he was emphatic about it, we didn't challenge him. And the rest was history. I feel the same way you do, God. I feel the same way you do, man. So, so that's my experience with the law. And I teach, and I tell people all the time, my life and sacrifice is all to what he gave us. And as far as who we are, and you asked the question, Shabu, I never forget, we was going through the lessons one day. And it was about 7 of us. And he started examining us on what we didn't know. Because the brothers we was around, they wanted us to go through the lessons accordingly. So none of us was really in the 1 to 40. And that's the first time I heard he was pissed off at us. He said, who is a 5%? And start, dropping them questions. Who's the 85%? And what he was asking us was, how do you say you something and you can't tell a person who you are? He said, how you know you don't fall in one of them other categories? So what he did that day, he told all of us that was there, he said, I want y'all to go back to the lessons. I don't care what the brothers say. Y'all get from the 14th degree to the 20th degree. And he said, you will know who a 5% is, and he said, y'all will also know what the hell y'all got to do. Because how can you talk about the meaning of civilization, the duty of a civilized person, and the rest of them, if y'all don't know these things? Because people is going to examine you. And it made sense. So lo and behold, the next time we saw him, he pointed out who he wanted to say something to, and he seen we knew the lessons. He said, now go back to where y'all at in your lessons. But it made good sense, and I use that trademark when I'm introducing somebody to this. You have to have an identity. So if you don't know who you are, then that's a shame. And people ain't gonna bear witness to it. And not only can you talk this and have to talk this, you have to be able to live it. One thing that I know that 5% do, they come to one another aids. I'll give you 2 quick stories and then I'm gonna wrap up. One, in 1976, Harlem Commonwealth was trying to take the property away from the 5%. We was living in Medina then. Me, Akmir, understanding the boxer, we came up to the school because we always did that, just come up to see what was going on in Mecca. Colleen was there. Before we could even step foot in the door and sign the book, he said, man, y'all come with me. This chump trying to take the school, man. He said, all I need y'all to do, just come out here and walk with me. We ain't asking no questions. Not one. We went around there, that's when we met Mr. Downey. That was the guy that was the head of Harlem Commonwealth. And Colleen went in there, and trust me, he didn't bite his tongue. He said, nigga, you try to take my school, I'll cut your damn head off. And before you know it, and he said anything, we was out the door going back to the street academy. Another quick story about what a 5% will do, a true and living 5%. A man could be someplace with his family, and his earth can be pregnant, and he have to send her before he come and meet back with her. And she can go among some true and living 5% without them acting like damn fools and try to hit on the sister. When I heard that story, it blew my mind, because I had never heard it. And I loved them brothers that she told me she was around. She wasn't around no jive 5%. She was around some of Allah's greatest 5%. And that man could not get here at the same time she did. But he sent his woman, and she was banned life, and them brothers protected their sister as if she was their woman. That's what a 5% do. 5% rise to the occasions. And don't never plagiarism nothing. If you saying something, have ownership of it. Don't say this person said that this person said that. If they didn't say it, be a man and stand up to what you bear witness to and what you believe. I've had a wonderful time. I'm sorry that we're not going to be here for the cookout tomorrow. But God's earth, I thank y'all for the presentation that y'all gave today, because those things that y'all talked about, that was going to be a part of my presentation. But it showed me that y'all paid attention to what growth and development. Continue to cultivate and build your region up. And each region have to build themselves up. And that national thing that you want, with everybody being there, it'll come together. But when they come to the table, they gotta come to the table with something. Listen, before it was the growth and development, it was GUL.
God you love.
And them brothers tirelessly, every Sunday met trying to put that together. Growth and development, when it came out about the 9 regions, it was a wonderful idea. But the thing about ideas is they must be cultivated. Because you have it in your mind, if you do nothing about it, then it's gonna die. That's why we always tell you to take mathematics from knowledge to born. Because when it reaches born, it's gonna be born dead or alive. It depends on who manifests it. So I say, listen, let's continue to be great. Let's continue to be an example for our young people. And more importantly, support what they do. Support what they do. Because I'm a living witness of an individual that have had his freedom from the time that he came in this nation, and that's how I roll. Being free and independent and standing on that which I truly bear witness to and believe in. And on that, I'm gonna say peace.
Peace to God.
No question.
Peace. It's been a very good day. When you say that,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They couldn't get it no better.
you know how we in our great days, right? The same way we begin, we're gonna sing our enlightenment, our universal enlightenment. And I'm gonna start it off, and then y'all just gonna come on in.
All right.
Alright.
Okay. I ain't shy.
Peace, Allah, Allah, you justice. Whoa, Allah, you justice. With peace, Almighty Allah, Allah, you justice. Whoa, Allah, you justice. Each and every day, and each and every way, I'm gonna show and prove, and teach them the righteous way. Peace, Allah, Allah, you justice. Allah, you justice. Peace, Almighty Allah, Allah, you justice. Oh, Allah, you justice. With knowledge is the foundation. With wisdom is the way. The understanding shows you that you are on your way. I said, peace, Allah, Allah, you justice. Allah, you justice. Peace, Almighty Allah, Allah, you justice. Oh, Allah, you justice. Culture is our God. The power is the truth. Equality only shows you that you have planted your root. I said, peace, Allah, Allah, you justice. Allah, you justice. Peace, Almighty Allah, Allah, you justice. Allah, you justice. God came to teach us the righteous way. Now we must build with the
of the cipher is to enlighten you and let you know that God is right amongst you. I say, peace, Almighty Allah, Allah and justice. With peace, Allah, Allah, you justice. I'm walking Allah, justice. Hey!
Nah, we ain't got that much. I'll pack it up for you, King.
What she need us to do? Master Archive! Okay, no doubt.
Suba. I packed that for you too, Get off that table.
Thank you, God.